Hi witches, happy Saturday. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I am finally getting back on track with filming regularly, so I'm really excited for the next couple days, weeks, months, all of that good stuff. But for today, I really wanted to talk about just honoring the planet and how we as witches can do our part to take care of Mother Earth. Now, I do want to acknowledge first and foremost that the individual impact that we make as people in our everyday life probably isn't as big of a dent as, say, taking down a corporation and getting them to be held accountable for all of the environmental damage that they do. So I just want to say this is not me shaming you or saying oh, it is our fault that the planet is dying. It's not, it's the corporations. But there are things that we as individuals can do to not only help our planet, but also use it as a way to connect with our spirituality. So some of the things that I kind of do, or things that I recommend doing, number one includes making offerings to nature spirits. So this is something that is very, very simple. It can be as easy as putting some water out for the spirits of the land that you reside on. Now for me, because I have an apartment, I go to the nearest tree to my apartment and I leave my offerings there. So I will water that tree. I kind of have a working relationship with it, similar to how I would any other plant spirit. That's sort of my version of it, but leaving offerings that are, of course, completely biodegradable, or specifically are non-toxic to the planet would be optimal. So things such as water, dried herbs that are not going to be bad for animals or non-toxic. Non-physical things such as songs or prayers, things that you can offer just out of respect to those spirits of the land, or to the land, to Mother Nature herself. Similarly, in that vein, I encourage you to learn about the land that you occupy. What is the history, right? I did a lot of research on the town that I live in and found out that it was once a stop on a really vast trading route of fur traders, of indigenous fur traders, I should say. And they had this really mighty communication system, I guess, that ran all the way up, all throughout the county that I live in. And it's really, really interesting. So through some of that, I got to learn about the history of not only my town from, colonial, the Americas, but through the Civil War and into industrialization. And I learned about just the history of the town that I live in through the historical society and stuff. So that might be a good first stop, especially if you're like me and kind of live in a downtown area. But it really is important for us to learn the history of the land, so that way we can respect it and work with that level of respect that it deserves, right? Next, of course, we have recycling, upcycling, and composting, right? Which is, I'm sure, things that you all do. But I think I've talked about in my thrifting videos and stuff of upcycling materials or thrifting materials for your practice, so that way we aren't contributing to any waste, right? That's upcycling. Recycling, we all know, reduce, reuse, recycle, of course, but if that is not something you're super good at, or maybe, it's oh my gosh, I have to take my recycling to the public works, just do it. Just carve out a little bit of time and use that as maybe some time to listen to affirmations or listen to a witchy podcast once a week. And then finally, composting is super good for your garden. I know I don't have to tell my green witches that. I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about, but this is a really great way to put food scraps to use and kind of reduce what goes into a landfill and what is wasted, essentially, right? Next, I encourage you guys to, again, this is a little bit research heavy, but consider planting native plants and focusing on permaculture. So a big thing right now that a lot of my friends are really interested in, myself included, is kind of getting rid of lawns, right? Or yards, vast expanses of grass, and utilizing it in a way that not only is beneficial for the land itself, right? We don't want all that nasty runoff going into our roads. We can have, rocky outcroppings or ground coverings that can really absorb some of that. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I really encourage you guys to look into what native plants grow in your area and learn about their properties, their healing properties as well, if that's something you're interested in. For me, I live in Pennsylvania, so on their the website of the Department of Natural Resources, they have a whole info sheet of trees, shrubs, grasses, all of these beautiful native plants that are going to work for you in your area. So, or I'm sure the government has something similar like that for you. So just check it out. And that was like the Department, again, of Natural Resources. If you are feeling a little bit spirited, the final thing that I have to talk about with you guys today is getting involved with activism. Now, this does not mean we have to be like chaining ourselves to trees or like joining Greenpeace unless you want to, in which case you go for it, babe. I support you. But I really encourage you to look into like local green organizations that are cleaning up your waterways, that are in need of volunteers to help give back and help protect and take care of our planet. It's kind of like integral, I feel like, to our practice. It is so intrinsically linked, this connection to Mother Earth. So I really just encourage you guys to learn as much as you can about where you live and how you can work in tandem with it, instead of just kind of like this somewhat, like dysfunctional or dysregulated way that I feel like I sort of have lived with the planet, right? Quick ways to kind of jumpstart that research, because I know a lot of this is research heavy. Of course, looking into those organizations, but also just like for researching the land is like, how long are your growing seasons? Do you know? Do you know where your food comes from or where your trash goes? How much rain do you get annually? And where are like those really, really wild places that surround you? These are all really good questions to start asking yourself as you begin this research, as you look into learning about the land, honoring it, and working in tandem with it. So I wish you guys all the best with all of that. I would love to hear how you honor the earth, how you work with the planet, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.